Welcome to the Friends Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, joined as always on Monday nights by Dave McDonald. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, dude, it's been a minute. I'm good. Yeah, ready to get back into the swing of things a little bit, and hopefully it'll be if we do this again next week, I'll have a little bit more. We can start getting back into our schedules and everything. It's kind of this is more going to be more of like a catch up week, but I'm happy to be back doing this with you, and yeah, doing good.
Yeah, it's been too long, my friend. It really has.
Yes.
Before we jump in, how is Vegas? How are you feeling about your teams? We're almost a month into the season.
Yeah.
Or are you ready to jump off a bridge yet?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Pretty much. No, if I weren't as experienced as I am, I would honestly probably feel that way about some of my teams because there's some teams that just everything has gone wrong on. I have some teams that have both Bailey Ober and Hunter Brown on them, and it's really difficult to cope with that right now. To see your ratios just get blasted and know it's going to take you like a month and a half to recover from that, and it's frustrating. And this year is actually the first year I'm doing two mains. I'm doing the one with Tony, and then I also did my own main. I'm not sure if I told you that. It was kind of a decision I made when I was in Vegas, and I saw a league that looked pretty light, and I jumped in. And I'll tell you this: I've never drafted outside of the big main event time, the live one at 11 a.m. on that Saturday morning. That has all the best players playing at it. It is the toughest time to draft the main, and I've only ever done those. So this is my first time doing one that is easily the easiest main I've ever drafted, bar none, by a landslide. And that team has already been in the top 15 overall. So I think I'm at like 70 now or something like that. But that one's doing well. I did lose Shane Bieber, but I mean, who hasn't lost someone at this point? I mean, it's just,
I haven't. Oh,
yeah. Okay. Well, you're a lucky bastard.
I mean, I lost Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, but so it's been really cool to have a main drafted that has not been insanely difficult, which is probably how most people do their online mains, how they feel. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty awesome. And I will say, had a blast in Vegas. I think the boys are starting to feel a little older though, because there was definitely one night where we went back, we went out drinking, then came back. Jake scheduled a Fantrax draft at like 10 p.m. Vegas time or 8 p.m. Vegas time or something like that. And we rushed back to get in to do it. Well, actually, the rest of us rushed. Jake was really in no rush. Like, he was ready to draft from his fucking phone for a $500 league. I don't know this guy. But that's Jake. So we all get back, and we get back to the hotel room. One of our friends, he has like narcolepsy. He passed out immediately, out like a light, snoring his ass off as Jake's drafting. And then like as Jake's drafting, because it's like 3 hours or whatever, 2.5 hours, something like that. Like other people are starting to nod off, and we ended up like everybody ended up either like napping or straight up falling asleep, and was like, oh man, is this what 40 is like? Jesus Christ. But then I got up and I was like, fuck you all. I'm going out by myself if no one else is coming. Went down to the Center Bar in Mirage where all the NFBC people hang out, and ended up staying up until 8:30 a.m. Did a podcast, did a drunken podcast with Zach and Fish in Rick Zito's room as he was passed out snoring on his bed. You can check that out on the Draft Champions podcast. And we reviewed the Platinum League. It was actually really good, I actually think. But it was entertaining, and we had a blast doing it. It was really cool to like do a podcast live with two other people like in the room with you, because communication is so much easier when you're not over the internet,
Yeah.
But it was just great to see everybody and, meet new people and make new friends and hang out. And we still had a blast, but definitely feels like Vegas is starting to slow down a little bit the older we get.
Well, I'm sad that I missed you guys this year. I will
we missed
try to be back next year for Vegas, but just couldn't swing 3 trips in the month of March this year. Like I said, I'll be back next year because I definitely missed, especially the live drafts. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I'll never do that Saturday morning main again.
I don't blame you. It's
Yeah.
if you're going for, straight ROI, it's the worst idea to
Yeah.
do that main event.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you're literally
I've
playing
done it
against.
twice, and I'm never gonna do it again. Like it
Yeah.
just to me, like it. No, I think I finished 15th in one and second in the other, and like what, I'll take that second place finish last year in that one, and I'm just gonna do it online or at a different time. So
So, it's funny because like I won 2 leagues in a row and then got third twice in a row. That's pretty fucking good considering that level of competition now that I think about it. Like, it's like at the time I was really frustrated that we like didn't win the other 2. But like looking back on it, I'm like, man, considering the competition and now that I have a reference point of how easy some of the other main events are, I'm like, God damn, I need to do one of these every year because it is worth the investment to get into a far easier main event league.
yeah, I completely agree. We're going to talk about a bunch of news, and then we're going to talk about some players and whether or not you're worried about them at this point in the season. Obviously, it's really, really early. There are going to be some guys where we just go, don't worry about it. Just, you're going to keep continuing to plug and play. But there are some people that, hey, maybe they were borderline guys to begin with, and now they're not worth rostering anymore. So,
Yep.
I think it is always advantageous to especially talk about the back half of your roster as guys who are cuttable right away. So, and we're at that point now where we're starting to see things start to stabilize. So I think this is a really good conversation to have. Before we jump into that, remind everybody you can reach Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD.
Add that D.
And you can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. We got a question in the chat. We are live in the middle of the night. So I'll pose this one to you first. Should I drop Jonathan India to pick up Gleyber Torres in a 10-team head-to-head league?
So this is actually a great question because I'm literally in this position right now where I just dropped Jonathan India in a 10-team league. I play one 10-team league. I haven't done one in about 15 years. RT Sports kind of has like an NFBC knockoff league that's 10 teams. So I decided to do one this year. And I literally just dropped Jonathan India for Jordan Westberg. I think in 10-team leagues where the replacement level is that high, and I'm not saying like India's necessarily a drop, but I think if you've got a guy who fits your team, what you need more, like if you need a guy at a different position or who gives you different resources more than India, I don't think India is a guy that you have to hold.
Yeah, completely agree. I would drop Jonathan India for Gleyber Torres in a heartbeat.
I didn't even see that it was for Gleyber Torres. Yes. Okay. Yes, I would do it for Gleyber Torres.
But I also agree with you. Like right now, Jonathan India is like the right at the bottom of where you probably bottom of your roster.
He's probably right around that cutoff point where it's questionable, but I still think if someone else fits your team better, and certainly for Gleyber Torres, no question.
Yeah. And he said that I have to use my number one waiver priority, still do it or save the number one spot. I'm always willing to just burn the number one waiver priority spot because other people will hold on to it, and that allows you to churn your roster more. So I think that it is very rare that I'm just going to hold off on dropping someone just to save that number one waiver priority spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. The only way I wouldn't is if there's something very specific that I needed to hold that for, like let's say closers got injured and I don't have any closers or something like that. And you know that when someone pops up, you're going to need to use it for that. That would be the only reason I wouldn't. But I'm like you. I almost always just burn my waivers and just keep using it throughout the season because a lot of people will be hesitant to use it, and you can just keep using it over and over and over again. And even if you're like, 8th, 9th, you can still pick up guys that shouldn't be going through because they're trying to not use their waiver claims and just pick them up as free agents.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, let's jump into some news. Jordan Montgomery is going to make his debut this week. Are you excited? What are you looking for from him, and would you start him?
I don't have him anywhere, so I'm not excited. I think he's mediocre. Like I think he could be a solid guy that you throw out against some mediocre to bad teams and feel pretty good that he's not going to get blasted and stuff. But I'm not really a huge fan of his, and I definitely wouldn't use him as first start. But guys coming off of injuries or making their first start. He didn't even have a spring training. Like, I don't know what he's done. I'm sorry that I don't know what, like, if he's just thrown sim games or if he's thrown in the minors and how many games, I don't know. But regardless, I'm not using him as first start.
Yeah, I wouldn't use. I mean, I like Jordan Montgomery a lot more than you do, but I would not start Montgomery in his first. You don't know how many pitches he's going to throw, or how deep in the game he's going to go. Don't know how rusty he is in that first start. So I want to see him before I use him in any spots. But I think he will be back to like a top 30, top 40 starter here in a little bit. I'm a big Jordan Montgomery fan. So
okay, well, so I just looked it up. He had 2 rehab starts in AAA. His second one, he gave up 7 runs and 3 2/3 of an inning. So I don't feel comfortable using him as first start back. Probably not his first 2 starts back, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I want to. I'm going to go start by start with him for at least for the beginning. Yeah, for a few weeks. So Tommy Pham signs a minor league deal with the Chicago White Sox. I was talking about this with Paul earlier today, and we did a would you rather, and the only players I asked Paul about were other players on the White Sox, and it was to illustrate the fact that currently, as the things stand, Tommy Pham's the best fantasy player on the White Sox.
And it's not particularly close either. I mean, like, I don't even know potentially who would even compare. Like Kopech.
I mean,
maybe?
Once Luis Robert comes back. Obviously Robert Eloy was activated today. So
True.
Maybe you can make the argument that Eloy is more valuable. But I mean, I think that's an argument too. Like Eloy hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I mean,
he doesn't have a position.
Once Tommy Pham is activated onto the 26-man roster, and he becomes available in NFBC leagues, because if he wasn't drafted, he won't be available until he plays a game for the White Sox. How much money in Fab would you spend on him?
Well, the interesting thing is you kind of have an idea because he was picked up a bunch this week, and our buddy Toby Batflip Crazy kind of set the precedent. He was bidding like in the low hundreds, like 110, 120, which, considering he literally signed an hour before the waiver deadline before the Fab period ran, I thought that was pretty aggressive. I was like, I mean, and it was. I feel like if you want him, you're going to have to go right around there, if not more, probably like maybe 130, 120, something like that.
I don't know if I'm willing to do it. I mean,
I don't. Yeah.
Paul said the same thing. Like, he's going to go for triple digits because you're talking about a guy who could potentially go like 15-15 even after missing the first month of the season, because he's going to play every day in Chicago. Like, there's nobody. Like, the team sucks. Like, but so, like, he's going to play. It's a good park.
Right.
I mean, I can make the argument for it. I don't know that I would do it, but I can make the argument for it.
I'm concerned with his temperament being in that. Like, that's not a good situation for most players. Like that, they're going to be so bad, and he's going to be so frustrated. I mean, it's hard to put like how that's going to affect his play or whatever, but he didn't play all off season. I mean, I don't know what he's been doing to keep in shape or whatever. I'm sure he's been doing stuff, but
he's a workout warrior type guy. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, but he's going to be coming into the season cold, and it might take him a while to get into a groove, and the upside in the counting stats is not going to be good on that team. So I still like him, but like you, I feel like I'm probably not willing to go triple digits. It's probably more like an $80 bid kind of thing for me.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think I'm probably going to be, and that means I probably won't get him. Maybe you get lucky in a league or something like that. We did see, certain, guys who went for, $100 in some leagues this week also go for $30-$40. Like, I got Jeff Hoffman in a league for 30, or a couple leagues for $37 this week.
Nice.
And was seeing him go for over 100 in other leagues. So,
yep.
Always put in the bid, even if you don't think you're going to get him.
Always.
Because you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yep.
You and I were texting before Fab ran because Colton Cowser was available in one of my $1,500 auctions. And I was like, what do you guys think? And you and Jake both were like, oh, you got to go over $200, and I went $269 because I'm a child, and ended up getting him. The backup bid was like $235 or $240, something like that.
Nice.
But also in that league, Luis Robert had been dropped, and someone picked him up for $250 something bucks. I didn't even see that Luis Robert had been dropped.
Oh,
and that was, it was a product of me. I was rushing to Fab because I'd had to go to a kid's birthday party earlier in the day and stuff, and I just missed it. But would have rather put I'm fine with Cowser. I would have rather put $269 on freaking Luis Robert and just held him for the next month.
Yeah,
But,
maybe. But there's no guarantee that even when Robert comes back, he's gonna stay healthy.
Yeah, it doesn't get hurt again. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean it's and right now with as many injuries as there are, although I guess apparently you've avoided them all.
I've avoided the majority of them.
You fucker. I was gonna say it's pretty hard to stash someone right now. Like that's a luxury that not many of us have, my friend.
All my injuries are on DCs and on Gladiator leagues where I can't do anything about it. So I'm just
fuck you.
my Fab leagues are fine. So
you fucker.
For now, I'm gonna knock on wood because I did record with Paul on Friday, and I was like, "Oh, you should see my ratios in my main." And then 2 of my pitchers went out and just got lit the fuck up, and I jumped my ERA by a point and my WHIP by half a point. And it was like, oh god, that was
that's what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tempt fate.
Nick Nostrani gets called up, makes his major league debut. Do you care?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of interest in him. A lot of prospect guys like him, but again, he's on Chicago. He's not going to get a lot of wins. The control is not good. He did pretty well today. I didn't really look into the start very much, but do I care? I mean, you have to care a little bit because there's so many pitchers going down right now. You literally have to look at every single starter that's available. But I don't, he's not someone that I'm super, super interested in.
Yeah, he's a guy that I don't mind taking a flyer on in a 15-team league. I think one of the issues is they also signed Mike Clevenger. So, how long is Nostrani going to even be on this roster? I mean, obviously, he,
did you say Estrada?
They signed Mike Clevenger.
Yeah, you said I don't know how long Estrada is going to be on the.
No, I said I don't know how long Nostrani is going to be on the roster.
Okay.
So I just to me and he has really good stuff, but the control is a massive problem. And it's like you said, it's on a team that's not going to win. So I think he's one of those guys that could probably get strikeouts, maybe even a decent ERA, but I think the WHIP is going to be bad. And we're getting the pronunciation in the chat right here.
Yeah, well,
Nastrini.
Yeah, I already told you that. That's why I was asking what the hell you were saying, because it sounded like you said Nostrani or Nostrana or I'm like, what the fuck?
He's not gonna be around long enough for me to care.
We'll see. All right.
Say Suzuki to the IL with an oblique injury. This is a bummer, dude.
Oh my god, such a bummer.
I mean, at some point we're gonna have to start talking about whether Suzuki is injury prone because stuff just seems to keep happening. Nothing massive, nothing major, but guys typically miss 4 to 6 weeks of injury. Are you holding on to Suzuki?
It's pretty major. I mean, it's not like surgery out 4 months, but I mean, God, being out a month and a half is not good. And he had this last year too. He missed. Mm-hmm. Now they said it's a different oblique. Okay, that's good, I guess. But I mean, no, it sucks because you have to hold him. I mean, the dude's elite. He is someone who I wanted to draft everywhere. I love Suzuki and he's so good. He had great start to the season. Everything looks good. Looks like an elite hitter. You have to hold him. You have to find a way to hold him.
Yeah, I think you want to try to hold him, but I mean, like I said, it's really hard to stash people right now. So I think you got to hold him at least for a week or two and kind of see if we get some news, maybe he could be back at the front end of the timeline.
What do you mean the week or two? You're gonna drop someone who's out for 6 weeks in the beginning of the year? Someone this good?
If you're beat up right now, yeah, probably not. No, you're right.
You can't drop him. There's no way.
So all right, Alexander Canario getting called up. Any interest there?
Sarah, no, I don't. I didn't. I didn't even have time to look into him. I mean, the only kind of league I could have added him in would have been like Fantrax. Sarah claims that he's really good against lefties, and I guess they get like 4 or 5 lefties this week. So we'll see how he does. But it sounds like he's just like he could be even short side platoon. I don't know if he's going to play every day. I don't know enough. I'll just be honest with you. I don't really know enough about Canario to know whether he's going to get a lot of playing time or if he's going to be worth your while. But I didn't really add him or anything.
Yeah. I don't think he is. He's got massive power. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing it. Like, he was in the home run derby at Arizona Fall League.
No.
He's got massive power, but he's also like one of those guys that like he I didn't watch the home run derby super closely. Like, he might have swung and missed at the home run derby. Like, he's like got like really, really bad plate skills, like, or not bad plate skills, bad contact skills. Like, he can take a walk. But like he's like, he gives the ball a mile, but he's going to swing and miss probably, he's probably gonna strike out like 40% clips. So like, I probably don't think he's going to find his way into the lineup that often. I probably is a short side platoon guy.
Yeah.
In a deep NL only league, sure. But like, other than that, like, I don't really care.
Okay. Sounds right.
Jordan Morano is expected to return tomorrow, or I guess today for those of you on the East Coast. Are you going to hold on to Chad Green if you still have him? Is Jordan Romano going straight back in your lineups?
I mean, if you need saves, I think you have to put him in. But so I would have said I would have held Green, except for Yimi Garcia got the last 2 saves. So now that it seems like, and maybe that was intentional because they don't want any kind of a controversy if Romano struggles at first or whatever. If you spread out the save ops, then people, don't feel like they've got a certain closer there. So right now, I'm probably not holding on to Green because of the fact that Yimi Garcia is also getting save ops too. So I'm probably, but if it was just one of the two who they had committed to, I would be holding them. That one guy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna hold on to. If I've got Chad Green or Yimi Garcia or whoever is the guys that the guy that I've been holding, I think I'm gonna hold on to him just for a minute, just because this elbow inflammation or forearm strains, like, these things so often end up in Tommy John.
Yeah.
And like,
you're telling me. I know.
Yeah. Like, I just think we could end up like 2 weeks from now, like, being right back in the situation. So,
but Eric Swanson is also coming back tomorrow too,
but he's coming off of elbow inflammation too,
right?
So.
Forearm, yeah. And so you're right. They could both be screwed. I don't know, but just saying if there was like a definitive guy that I could point to and say this is the guy if Romano's hurt, I would hold them. I don't know. I don't know where they're like. It feels like a committee if it's not Romano.
Yeah. All right, that makes sense. Tyler O'Neill in concussion protocol, brutal collision in the outfield. Dude, just like, part of it is just, I think he's injury prone, but part of it, like, he's had some just bad luck as well.
Sure.
Any real worries with Tyler O'Neill?
No, I mean, I watched it happen because I'm a Guardians fan. So the 11 a.m. game, I was like, oh God, I got to remember.
Bullshit 8 a.m. game for us on the West Coast. Yeah. As you can see my sign back here saying "fuck Patriots Day."
Yeah. So that also sucked because it was like, well, we got to make early roster decisions or lineup decisions on Cleveland and Boston when no other game starts for another 7 hours from now. But okay. That always annoys me. But yeah, I saw it happen. It sucked. But I don't think, in general, concussions, you're not going to miss a ton of time. It's usually a week at most, usually, unless there's complications, which I guess for Tyler O'Neill, that's always a possibility. Normally his issues like hamstrings and stuff like that. So that would be more my concern is if there was some kind of lower body injury with him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Eloy activated
out of nowhere.
Yeah, didn't expect that one. But do you care?
I mean, yes. I mean, he could be back on the IL tomorrow. We all know that, but you got to play him while he's healthy, I think. So, yeah, I care.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's going right back in your lineup. I'm so over Eloy. Like, I
get it.
I couldn't even like bring myself to like
Draft
put
him.
a $2 or $3 bid on him in auctions. Or, like, just like, if I was going to draft a UT only player, it was either going to be Ozuna or it was going to be JD Martinez. I'm just tired of dealing with the like always injured, Eloy.
Ozuna is the bane of my existence because I wanted him so bad. He was one of my biggest targets, and I got him in 0 leagues. I
don't know if you've seen the new player rater that Fangraphs has.
Oh God,
went live today. Looks great. If you look under the fantasy tab over there on Fangraphs, he is the number 2 hitter so far this year.
God damn it.
All those people who make the comment, "Oh, I don't like to draft UT only players." There are UT only players that are very well worth the price.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm one of them. I don't love it. It depends on the league though. And it depends on the draft capital spent. I mean, for where he's going, I was all about it. I had him as one of my I'm looking at now that Betts is 1 and Ozuna's 2. William Contreras is 3. Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Wow. Yeah. And then Adolis Garcia, who is randomly running again, is 4. That's another one, man. That one is like, I wanted him if he was going to be running, but there was no reason to think he was going to run.
No. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Christian Yelich has a back issue. This is a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, it's every year, and it's usually not.
But it wasn't last year. Like, he was fine all of last year. Didn't have the back issue.
He definitely misses time every single year with his back issue. Like, there's always a couple times throughout the year. Like, he doesn't necessarily always go on the IL, and when he does, it's usually for like a week, maybe 2 at the most. So it's probably not anything that's going to be keeping him out long. But yeah, it just sucks to lose one of your best hitters for a week or 2.
He's had like 630 plate appearances more the last 2 seasons. So like, it's just a bummer to see him. I hope this is not like a long-term thing. Obviously, you're not doing anything. You're just holding on to him wherever you have him. So Eduardo Rodriguez has a setback. He is shut down. I dropped him in a couple leagues. I just didn't have time to like get bids in to drop him. He will be dropped from all of my teams. It's a bummer, but time to cut bait, I think, right?
Yeah, he's not good enough to stash. So you just gotta let him go.
All right. Max Meyer optioned. Somewhat surprising because I thought that they would just move AJ Puck out of the rotation with how poorly AJ Puck has pitched.
Right.
But not super surprising because Meyer was the last guy in the rotation and only made it because Edward Cabrera and Braxton Garrett were both injured to start the year, and both are on their way back. Cabrera started today versus my Giants, and Garrett should be starting either later this week or early next week. Are you holding on to Max Meyer anywhere?
Probably not. Something Scott Genstad said too that I agree with, and he's like, so like, I get that you're limiting his innings, but you stretched him out and he's looking good. He's pitching well. And then you're going to unstretch him out. So you're going to like, take him down to where he's like limiting his innings now. And then you're gonna have to re-stretch him out to bring him back up. And it's like, it's dumb. Like, why not just use him for now and then until you put an inning restriction on him and then send him down or whatever. Like,
let him throw the 110 innings that you're going to let him throw.
Yeah.
And just
just keep going. Like, it's not like you're a playoff team anyways. Like, who gives a shit? I don't know. It seems super dumb. And then, Braxton Garrett now has dead arm, so he's not going to return this week, but
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I put it on the rundown, so I understand why you didn't see it.
Yeah. I don't look at the rundown.
I know.
I wrote half of it. You wrote half of it. I don't look at your half. Braxton Garrett, dead arm, won't return this week. Are you dropping him anywhere?
I mean, dead arm sometimes is only like a minor setback, so I'm waiting for more. I mean, they wouldn't have dropped him on Sunday anyway, so you're gonna have a week to have more information on it. So I'm not. I'm not dropping him unless there's a definitive good player to pick up for him.
Yeah. Robert Stevenson's got an elbow issue now. This is not going well.
No.
I'm a little bummed I didn't target Carlos Estevez in more leagues.
Oh man, Estevez. We targeted Estevez hard because we were not buying that Stevenson was going to A, come back soon, and B, be the closer. So Estevez was a guy we loved as a CL2 everywhere.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten him in a couple more spots. Drop Stevenson if you're.
I wouldn't still be holding Stevenson at this point, anyways.
Yeah.
But if for some reason you are, drop him.
Yeah. Sheehan is shut down. Drop him.
Drop him.
Instant cut. Jake Berger to the IL with an oblique injury. Another guy is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. It's a bummer.
Another bummer, dude. And I have him and Suzuki on some teams together, and that's like a real challenge to find guys to put in the lineup now. So and I have Berger on my main event team that was doing off to a really good start. So that's a pretty big bummer.
Yeah.
Again, you're holding him though. Again,
yeah, so. Absolutely. Jonathan Clase he made his major league, he was called up to the major leagues, I believe, today. I don't know. I haven't checked to see if he actually played or not. This is an extremely fast prospect. We're talking I think he stole 79 bases between high A and double A last year. If I'm remembering the math on it correctly. He started off in triple A this year, playing really well. Canzone got hurt, and that is why he is up. Any interest in Class A?
I don't like these guys in general, the guys who have little to no power and just are speed guys. And I don't know what the situation is. They said they're going to play him, but I don't know if that means if he's taking Canzone's playing time, that's still just strong side platoon. So he might be a play, like a guy that you can, especially if you need speed, he could be what people were hoping Victor Scott would be. But I mean, I'm not a prospect guy. There's other people, James Anderson, Eric Cross, Chris Clegg, read what they have to say about him, because they know more than you or I do about, I don't know. And I don't know if it's Class A or Clace, but yeah, either way, I think if you need speed, it's a big need for you, I think you have to be somewhat interested, but again, I don't know that he's going to play every day.
Yeah, he did play today, went 1 for 4 with a strikeout. There's, like I said, a ton of speed in the profile. So if you're looking for, maybe some cheap speed, I don't mind taking a gamble on it.
Yeah.
I picked up David Hamilton everywhere, especially if I was looking for speed. So if you're speed deficient, I got a couple teams that are I don't think that's a bad play, but I also don't know how long he's going to be on the major league roster or if he's going to play very often, like you said. So it is kind of a gamble. All right, moving right along. Esteury Ruiz back up, hit a home run tonight in his first at bat. You know what? He got dropped in, I think it was my main, and I almost just threw $1 on him. I don't even like Esteury Ruiz.
No, I hate him.
But he can be such a game changer in the speed department that I almost threw $1 on him just to stash him because I am lucky right now and I don't have a lot of injuries and stuff, so I don't have to worry. But I can't stash a guy or two. Are you going to go run to the wire and pick up Ruiz where he's available?
No. And the thing is, I don't expect him to play every day like he hasn't been, and he didn't last year. I think he's a part-time player. If you desperately need speed, then yeah, you have to consider that option. But I build my team so that I don't need players like that. So I don't think there's anywhere that I need to add him.
Yeah, I think if I need speed, and I do have a few leagues where speed has definitely at least been an issue to start the season, I might take a gamble, but I'm not going to spend the $100+ it's going to make me get him.
No.
So, and I think that's going to be the big issue because
keep in mind he's a bad player. He is not a good baseball player. You can, that doesn't mean you can't get fantasy value out of him, but that means that his value to you is worth more than his value to the Athletics. And you can say, oh, well, they're the Athletics. They're terrible. They didn't play him last year either. And I mean, we've been over this. Like, he does not play every day. So I don't care how bad their team is, they don't play him. So
they just sent him down. Like he was one of their better players on the team, and they sent him down anyways.
Right.
To me, it's like, don't be surprised when like he doesn't play or he gets sent back down. But if you need speed, dude can steal 80 bases.
Yes. Temper your expectations, understand what he can do for you, but also other things that he won't do for you. Your counting stats for the spot that you're using for him are going to be horrendous, bad average, very few home runs. He's just strictly a speed play. So if you need it desperately, then you're going to be in the market. And if you don't, then I wouldn't bother.
All right. Moving on to the next topic. Bobby Miller to the IL with a shoulder issue. How worried are you on this?
I have some Bobby Miller. He was mostly a fade for me, but in one or two places, maybe one, he fell that I took him. Those guys who throw 97.5 plus, I've mentioned before, like they all get hurt. They all end up with Tommy John and or other major arm injuries, and I'm very skeptical that he's going to be back as soon as he thinks he's going to be back, and that he'll stay healthy even if he does. So my alert level is high.
Yeah. I'm pretty concerned with this one. For those who don't know, like his draft stock slipped when he was coming into the draft because he was hurt like that. This is a guy that's had like arm issues previously. So I would be very concerned. You're not dropping him, obviously. You spent a pretty high pick on him, but my level of concern is extremely high. Even though they said they expect him to start throwing here in the next week or so, yeah, I'm not very enthused by this at all.
No.
Kyle Bradish starting a rehab assignment. Think he's going to make his way back? He's on your barf team.
Yeah.
Your Glarf team.
Yeah, he's on my Glarf team. I held him, but again, very, very low level of hope and optimism there. Like, I'd be shocked if he doesn't have some sort of setback and or just end up needing full on Tommy John. It's possible that he comes back and is somewhat effective. And that's the other thing. He come back and then be missing something, like not have his full range of ability and just not be worth owning anyways. There's a lot of outcomes that I don't like, and there's very few that I think where he ends up being worth keeping. But you invested that much in him, and unless there was someone available that you could have added that was a decent replacement for him, you probably still have him. So yeah, you're just hoping that you're hoping for that very small % chance that he's okay.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You're taking the gamble by just holding on to him, but like the chances that he's actually going to be the pitcher we saw last year for 90 innings or whatever it's going to be when he comes back is pretty slim. I'm still holding him wherever I got him, but I'm also not like running to the waiver wire to pick him up if he's out there.
No.
All right. Last bit of news. Michael Lorenzen's debut. Cody, there was kind of like, hey, like, what are they going to do with this rotation once Michael Lorenzen comes back? Because they said Cody Bradford is going to stay in the rotation. Then Cody Bradford heads the IL. I thought they were going to move Andrew Heaney out of the rotation. I actually dropped him in a couple spots just because I was like, one, he's not very good, and two, like, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation for very much longer. But any interest in Michael Lorenzen?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I think that's fair. All right, let's move on to players that we might be worried about. Let's start with a guy that was someone I drafted a fair amount in like early D season stuff because he was just going so low, and then all of a sudden, the price on Parker Meadows like kind of went through the roof as we started getting the main season. I don't know, like if it was like people starting to go, hey, he could lead off. He's got power. He's got speed. The Tigers are an up-and-coming team, but he has not played well this year. Are you worried on Parker Meadows?
Oh, I can answer that question for you. I know exactly why his price skyrocketed. It's the pull hitter effect.
Oh.
Rob was big on him. Him and Leody Taveras, which I was just like, why is everybody drafting Leody Taveras? I could not understand it. I mean, as high as he was going, anyways. Like, it's not like he's not worth drafting, but yeah, Rob was very high on him, and they've got their Discord where they just go crazy over players, and then their draft stock goes up, and blah blah blah. So that's why Parker Meadows, the price went through the roof. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's had some contact issues, and not to this degree though. I mean, right now he's sporting a 40% K rate. He is walking at a 17.5% clip, but he's hitting .061 for his average. His BABIP is 118, but he's not making good contact at all. I mean, he's got a sub 30% hard hit rate, and his hard percentage, like Fangraph's hard percentage, not StatCast, is under 12%. So he's just he's making horrendous contact, and his contact percentage is 58.7%. So he's not even making contact, and then when he does, it's shitty. So like everything just looks terrible with him right now. He does have 2 steals, but he has to get on base in order to steal bases, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's got among the worst zone contact in all of baseball. It's right there in like the top, let's see, top 10, 72. I think it's like 72% zone contact right now. It's truly atrocious. Like and he's just not swinging enough. It's great that he's walking 17% of the time, because when he does swing, he can't make contact at all. I'm not going to be surprised if Parker Meadows gets sent down.
Yeah. And he's losing playing time now too.
Yeah, I think I would drop Parker Meadows pretty much anywhere at this point.
I'm not ready to drop him in a 15 yet, unless you have someone that you feel like you can replace him with, because it's just too early for me. But in 12s and 10s, obviously, you can definitely drop him.
All right. Ceddanne Rafaela, who was another guy who, like, all of a sudden, like, he was another guy, like, I was getting in, like, around pick 700 in DCs in November and stuff. And I was like, hey, I kind of like the upside here a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like, as we started getting the main event season, started getting the middle end of March, like, he just started, like, he was going, like, pick 180 in some of the later mains. And I just didn't understand why people were going crazy over him. Or, like, he's currently hitting 160, 214, 260 with no home runs, 1 stolen base. What are you doing with Ceddanne Rafaela?
Yeah, so I think the reason that he jumped up so much was projections loved him. I mean, he was getting like close to 2020 projections from several of the the Bad X and ATC and stuff like that. So anytime you have a guy like that, that's certainly valuable. Now, it seems like they were a little aggressive with that, but I mean, his K rate is 26.5%. It's it's not like 40% like Parker Meadows. There's more hope here than with Meadows, but he's making bad contact. I mean, his contact rate, again, not putrid like Parker Meadows, but also not good. Zone contact is pretty bad, and he's just not hitting the ball hard. But I still think there's a decent chance that he pulls out of this and is good. What's working in his favor is he's an elite defender, and they need him between the outfield and the infield until Grissom and Tyler O'Neill come back, especially. Like, they cannot get rid of him. So I would be benching him, especially in 15s, but I'm not dropping him yet. And in deep 12s, I'm still holding unless you have someone that's a must pick up.
I didn't see who was the guy that ran into Tyler O'Neill, but wouldn't be surprised if Ceddanne Rafaela just took him out just to try to get,
Devers.
It's Devers. Okay.
Yep.
So, now here's the thing with Rafaela. And I mean, this is what I said in draft season, especially when that price was starting to go up. Rafaela has all the tools you want in fantasy. He is an amazing defender, like you mentioned. He has pop, and he's got a ton of speed. The problem is he is not good at making contact. He never has been. Like, this is a guy that yes, when he does make contact, the ball go far, but doesn't make a lot of contact. He's going to strike out at a 30+% clip throughout his entire career, and nothing in the profile, even in spring, told us otherwise. Yes, he had a great spring, but he was still swinging outside the zone like 45% of the time. Like, this is a guy, like, he's very Javi Baez-ish, right? Like, which like can work.
What about his K rate is telling you that? I mean, like in the minors, the highest it ever was like 25%. Like, that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not horrendous. I mean, now in last year in a 90 plate appearance sample, his 31.5% in the majors, but that's too small to really judge on. And 31 is not, ridiculous. He's only at 26.5 right now. I don't know. I'm not seeing that as a huge issue.
Yeah, he's swinging outside of the zone almost 50% of the time. Swing strike rate is 16.5%. His zone contact is 78%. These are all atrocious numbers.
Yeah,
these are all indicative of a player who does not know where the ball is being placed.
He has to make adjustments, but I think he's capable. Like, my point is, I think he has the tools where once he adjusts, I think he'll be okay. But it might be a while. I think people hoping that he would quickly adjust. It didn't work out.
Yeah, I don't think there is a guarantee that he's going to adjust, or even a strong likelihood. Not with the way the skills are. If we see a skill change or not necessarily even a skill change, an approach change, like, then maybe. But like the approach is too bad. Like, one of the differences between the majors and the minors is how good pitchers are at working the outside of the zone. Like, they're not going to come into the zone to him if he's going to continue to swing out of it almost 50% of the time.
He has to adjust for sure.
Yeah. So I just don't know if I believe that he's going to. One of my big picks this year, one of the guys that I was targeting, I got in a ton of leagues until the main event came around, until my $1,500 auctions came around, because everybody sniped me on Dalton Varsho, is struggling mightily. So screw you guys for jumping in my draft. How worried are you on Varsho right now?
Well, it's okay. So he's had a couple homers lately. He's picking it up. But there's a couple of things that I don't love. The big thing was in spring training, he was striking out hardly at all. I think he had like a 5 or 6% strikeout rate, and he was walking a ton. That has not carried over. He's got a 26% K rate and an 8% walk rate, which is pretty much right in line with where he's been the last couple of years. So now, granted, if he is who he was the last couple of years, 225 to 235 hitter with 25 homers, 15 steals, you're okay with it. But we were all hoping he was going to take that next step forward, and I'm not really seeing that from what he's shown us so far. Again, it is still early. He could still turn it around, but there's nothing in his profile thus far that's showing me that he's turning anything around, like that he's progressing as a hitter from where he has been.
I tend to disagree. Zone contact is a little bit higher than last year. O swing is drastically lower.
Zone contact is 1% higher. You're really going to say that?
I said a little bit higher, and that's still
come on.
It's still 3 percentage points above league average.
Okay,
league average runs around 85%, so that's above league average zone contact. So it's outside the zone 25% of the time, which is like 7 percentage drop from last season, and now below league average. He's become more aggressive in the zone. Like, I actually think these are all really intriguing things. I think he's getting unlucky. I'm not super worried about Dalton Varsho yet.
Okay.
Like, do I think he's gonna be return second or third round value? No, but you were getting him, outside the top 150, top 200 picks in some drafts. So I'm totally fine. I'm not worried on Varsho at the moment.
I mean, I'm definitely still holding. Like, he's not a guy I'm giving up on at this point for sure.
What about Henry Davis, who's another guy who started to skyrocket, especially once the news came out that he was going to be catching and getting catcher eligibility in season? He has not looked good at the dish. Are you worried about Henry Davis?
Yeah. I mean, looking under the hood, it honestly doesn't look that bad. I mean, I know you'll point to his zone contact being down, but everything else looks fine. His O swing is down 10% from last year. His max EV is higher than it was last year. He's hitting the ball like too high. Like he's got a near 23 degree launch angle. But he's hitting like 24% line drives, 44%, 45% fly balls. And he's pulling them. There's a lot of things I like about this profile, honestly. Like I think he's getting unlucky, but the thing that I am concerned with is that, he could lose playing time. Like once someone comes back, I don't know when Grandal's coming back, but when he does, they might not be looking at all these things under the hood because the Pirates are kind of dumb. And they might just say, oh, he's struggling, so let's just bench him. So that's my biggest concern with Davis.
Yeah, I mean, this on contact's down, but like I'm not as like it's not like in the 70s at this point. And I only have two real concerns with Henry Davis. One, that the move behind the plate, there's just a lot more to do when you're a catcher, right? Like you have to learn how to call games. There's more homework involved, and like maybe he just doesn't have the time to work on the offense as much as he would like because he's doing other things. He's having to learn kind of on the fly and very quickly how to catch games at the major league level. And so that's a bit of concern for me. The other bit of concern for me is he has played 12 games this season, all behind the plate. I think part of the attractiveness of Henry Davis was the fact that, hey, he can also play the outfield. He can DH. He's not doing any of that yet. Now, part of that may just because his bat isn't carrying enough weight early on, where they're like, why would we put a guy who's hitting 186 as our DH when we can put Andrew McCutcheon or we can put a different guy there. But those are the concerning parts for me. Would I drop him if he's now got catcher eligibility in NFBC and in every format? No, I don't think I would, because like, who are you dropping him for? Like, I think you got to ride with it, but
yeah, he's probably your C2, or maybe it's for some people their catcher 1 when he gains. Did he gain catcher eligibility?
Yeah, he's got it now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, considering the bar for catchers being what it is, I'm not dropping him in 15s. Now in 12s or in single catcher leagues, yeah, you're not sticking with him. You're definitely moving on, because you can always pick him up later if you want, but there should be better catchers available in single catcher leagues.
Yeah, in a single catcher league, he shouldn't have been on your radar to begin with, I don't think, honestly. But in a two catcher league, I'm probably holding on to him for at least right now. So unless someone drops someone ridiculous, which happens in leagues, but I mean, in one of my $150 auction leagues, someone dropped Garrett Whitlock, and I was like, scooping that shit right now. Like, I don't know why they decided to drop Garrett Whitlock, but I'll go scoop that. But unless you're in a situation like that, like I'm probably just riding with Henry Davis in two catcher leagues. Jordan Walker, another guy who was getting a lot of helium towards the end of draft season. I love Jordan Walker last year. I didn't pay the price on him this year. Where are you at with Jordan Walker?
Same with you. Like, I didn't end up with him anywhere because the price was too high. Like, he was going at the same time as guys who I felt a lot more comfortable with, who were already established, who, if Jordan Walker does what he should do, is pretty much going to be those guys anyways. So the draft cost just didn't make sense to me. But I mean, again, like, I'm not seeing a ton to dislike in his profile. Like, he's hitting the ball hard, actually. His contact rates are fine. He's actually been a lot more aggressive in the zone, which is good. His zone contact is down a little bit, but still fine. And really, I think he's just needs more playing time. Like, his K rate's up, but it could just be, a slow start. The problem is that he's already, I think he's already sat like 3 or 4 games this year. So that's my only concern there, is that he loses more playing time. But again, you're not dropping Jordan Walker. Definitely not in 15s. In 12s, probably not. Unless it's like a really shallow 12, then you might want to move on if there's because there's some good players available in those.
So like, he's doing everything like when we talked about like what we want to see guys to do in order to succeed or to turn things around, is like, hey, try to be a little bit, more selective outside of the zone. Like, don't chase outside of the zone as much. He's dropped his zone swing a couple percentage points. But like I said, he is being uber aggressive, like really, really aggressive inside of the zone, which is normally something you want to see. But maybe he's just being too aggressive, even in the zone. Maybe he should wait for like a better pitch in the zone, because like 85% zone swing is insanely high. Like that is like insanely high. So
It's very high.
I almost wonder if he should just be a little bit more selective, even in the zone,
Yeah.
because he's swinging, and maybe he's just swinging wild. Like I honestly don't quite understand. Like, yes, the zone contact has come down. He was around league average last year. He's below league average this year. But like, I think that is just a product of how much he is swinging in the zone.
Yeah, he's 16th in overall swing rate. He's 16th most. So, I mean, right up there. Sedan Raphael is 8th. So, again, maybe you shouldn't be swinging this much. Be a little bit more, selective. I mean, it can work for you. Michael Harris is 5th, and but he's like an elite contact guy. So I think it's a little different for him. There's a little bit more leeway, but. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's swinging a little bit too much, and he's also not hitting any line drives. He's got a 3% line drive rate, so your average is not going to be very good if you're hitting nothing but ground balls and fly balls.
Yeah, something I just kind of looked up. He's really struggling against fastballs. That's concerning. That would be a big concerning to me because he's going to see 50% fastballs more often than not. He's absolutely crushing off speed pitches right now. Hitting 500 against them, but 138 against fastballs is something to be a little bit concerned about.
Yeah, maybe he's just a little too keyed in on the off speed stuff, but let's give him another couple weeks. I mean, he's an elite. He's like 22 years old. He's an elite talent. Like I'm not giving up on him at this point.
No, I don't think there's anything actionable here. I don't think there's a league where I would drop him necessarily. I'd bench him in a 12 or a 10. But I don't think I want to put him on the waiver wire. Jose Abreu. This is a guy that I targeted in a couple leagues because like he was a former top 100 pick that you were getting outside the top 250, sometimes out of the top 300. He looks like garbage. Is Jose Abreu just done?
Yeah. I mean, it's I didn't draft him anywhere. It's too soon to say for sure, but I mean, it feels like he could be. There's nothing like, he's striking out a 28% clip, which is like 6% higher than pretty much any other year that he's had. It's a small sample, but he's not hitting the ball as hard. Contact rates down. Just nothing really looks great, and he's probably someone that I'm looking to move on from at this point. I just don't think that even if he recovers, I don't know what the upside even is.
Yeah, like there isn't much in the profile at this point where I go, oh, I'm holding on to Jose Abreu.
Right.
I mean, it's hard because like I'm even looking at like the splits between pitches, and like he's not hitting anything. He's literally just not hitting anything. And like this feels like, hey, I think that Father Time caught up to him. Like he's 37 years old. I think maybe this is just like if he didn't have this contract, I don't think he'd be playing at all.
Yeah, and I mean he might not be playing for much longer, anyways, because Loper Fido is just crushing in the minors, and most prospect guys think he'll be up before May.
Well, if he is, like I wouldn't be surprised because right now, Jose Abreu just like he just looks cooked. And like like John Singleton starting to get starts and stuff like that. Like that's
yeah.
Like that's exactly where we're at.
By the way, anybody who's in the chat who can pick up prospects like whenever, pick up Loper Fido. I expect him to come up and be good, and I think he can also play first, second, and outfield. So he might be moved around a bit and get multi-position eligibility. And he's already got 10 home runs on the year. He's just slaughtering the ball.
All right. Moving right along, we've got old friend Byron Buxton struggling at the dish. He's healthy though. That's something.
I feel like he's just like the biggest troll. Like he's he's like the draft cheat of Major League Baseball. You know, like the one year he finally stays healthy. Well, I mean, finally stays healthy. It's been 2 weeks, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, you could have easily seen him go on the IL by now. And he's just doing nothing. He hasn't hit a home run. He hasn't stolen a base. He's hitting 196. He's got a 36% strikeout rate. He's swinging and missing a ton. Swinging strike rate is 21%. I mean, he's hitting line drives when he hits it, but like is not barreling the ball at all. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting the ball hard, but the contact rate's down. He's just not making contact right now. And, you know, it's too soon to move on from him because you know what he can do in those moments when he is those few moments every year when he is healthy. But yeah, it's super frustrating because it's like the 1 year he's properly priced and he does this to start the year. It's like, oh God, such a troll.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think he'll find his way out of this, but I also, like, I don't know that he is ever going to be the fantasy player people wanted him to be. Like, it's just between injuries and the fact that he pretty much stopped running at this point. Like, I mean, I don't know that you are that interested. Uncle Ted in the chat says Harold Ramirez is catching. Is that something that I'm not watching any games right now while we're doing this? But
I don't know what that means. Uncle Ted, please elaborate.
Oh, catching fire. Oh, he's hot. I thought he was saying he was catching. And like I was like, oh, because that's interesting. Because I mean, my original home league was like an AL only, and in season it was 1 game eligibility. So like I try to remember the player it was. It was like, you know, this was like 20 years ago. Like, but there was like a player who was like a second baseman who like because there was a collision at the plate. He ended up catching like for an inning. And all of a sudden, he was like the number 1 catcher in fantasy in the American League for that year.
Aren't you the one who makes fun of Yahoo's eligibility, saying like,
oh
if
yeah,
you played the position like back in kindergarten or something, and then you've got a fucking league where you come in for an inning.
It was an old school 12-team AL only league. Like,
oh
I mean,
my God,
you know,
that's so ridiculous.
It was completely ridiculous. I think they changed the rules like the next year. God, I wish I could remember who the player was. But I mean, like I said, this is probably 20 years ago. So at this point, I can't remember. But there are still some leagues that like AL only, NL only, where they do like 1 game eligibility in season. Just because it's so hard to like find guys in AL only and NL only, and like every once in a while you'll have that guy who like he goes and catches an inning and now he's eligible. Well, yes.
But bottom line, Harold Ramirez is indeed not catching.
He is not catching, and I also don't really care about Harold Ramirez.
You did skip Andrew Vaughn earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. Andrew Vaughn sucks. Thoughts?
Oh my God, he has been so bad. Like, just not barreling anything, not hitting anything hard. I thought his ground ball rate was higher, but I don't know. It seems like he's always hitting the ball on the ground. Just, yeah, I don't know. I thought he was going to be solid, but man, projections still like him as like a 20 to 20 plus homer, 260 average guy, but man, I don't know. I'm hoping he turns it around, but it's looking like that upside is not really there that people thought he had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I kind of root for Andrew Vaughn. He's literally like a local kid from my area. Like, my kid is gonna go to the high school that he went to. Okay. Like, because it's literally within walking distance of my house. My wife works with his dad. So like I root for him as a person and as a player, but I think he has been overhyped because of where he was drafted and what his prospect pedigree is. Like, he has not really done anything in the major leagues to make people think that he's going to turn into the player they thought he was going to be. I hope he does. I hope 1 year he, puts up a 300 average with 40 home runs, but like, there's nothing in the profile that tells me that's going to happen.
No. Yeah. It doesn't.
Like, I think he could hit like 280 with like 20 home runs, like, and that would be fine. But like,
I mean,
is he ever going to be a
think,
superstar? I don't think so.
I mean, I think, yeah, like I'd say the possibility is like 280 with like 30 homers. I think that's possible, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
And I mean, that being said, like he is getting unlucky. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
he probably should be hitting 240 or 250. He's making good contact in the zone. His infield fly ball rate is insanely high, which means he's just getting under pitches. So
Yeah.
I think I do think that like there will be power. I do think that he will hit for a better average. But I'm talking about a guy who's going to hit like 17 home runs with a 260 batting average, and that's not what you want from your CI.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's CI shit. He's my first baseman in one league, so yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not great.
Is someone on Twitch saying that's traditional roto rule still it does exist in some AL and NL only leagues. Yeah, and that's my original home league who they kicked me out many years ago.
You're referring to the one game of eligibility.
Yeah, the one game eligibility was the original rule.
Yeah,
and we played original 4x4 rules, which was a lot of fun. I love that league. I wish they hadn't kicked me out so I could keep whooping their ass, but you know, I'll get over it eventually. It was only like 7 years ago they kicked me out.
You've only told me that story like 7 times. So you're clearly going to get over it at some point, right?
Nope. O'Neal Cruz struggling at the dish right now. Worried on O'Neal Cruz.
I mean, honestly, you know, it's really just the 38% K rate. Like that's scary. But that I don't know. He might be able to sustain that. Like he's still hitting 246 despite having now. Granted, that's with a 360 BABIP, but with a 38% K rate, you know, it's hard to make that little contact and have even a 240 average. Yeah, I think this is just kind of who he is, though. Like he's still hitting the ball hard. He's still got 3 homers and a steal. I expect him to, you know, keep running and keep hitting the ball hard. Hopefully that K rate just kind of comes down more towards 30%. Probably won't be a much better than that, but I don't think it's someone super to be worried about. But 38% is scary to look at for sure.
I mean, you're around my age, right? You might be even a little bit older than me, right? So, you know, you remember who Dennis Green was, right?
Dennis Green?
Yeah, football coach.
No. For what?
The football coach for the Cardinals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought we were talking about baseball because this is a baseball podcast. My bad. Yeah, yes.
So
they are who we thought they were. Yeah, I know Dennis Green.
Yes, and that is the line we're looking for here. He is who we thought he was, and we've let him off the hook. Like this is who O'Neal Cruz is.
Yeah,
like he is a guy who is going to strike out all the time. But man, when he makes contact, ball go far.
Yep.
You like when ball go far, and he can run, right?
And
so if you drafted O'Neal Cruz, this is what you should have expected. You're going to expect loud tools. And there are going to be weeks where you are frustrated to have him on your roster. And then there are going to be weeks where you go, this is why I drafted O'Neal Cruz. If you can't handle those ups and downs, I recommend not drafting him next year. But you can't drop him. You got to stick with him. Because the moment you drop him, like those of you who play in like shallow leagues, like 10-team leagues and stuff like that, the moment you drop O'Neal Cruz, someone will pick him up. And he will hit 5 home runs.
Oh, he'll go on a tear, guaranteed. Yeah, guaranteed.
So you just can't if those of you play in head-to-head leagues, this is why you don't draft O'Neal Cruz, because he will sink you in weeks and he will win you in weeks. But you know the week he'll sink you is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
true.
This is why I stay away from guys like O'Neal or Ellie De La Cruz in
I was just saying
in head-to-head leagues.
Yeah. Ellie has more speed and less power, but I don't know if he has less power, but he doesn't access his power as often as
he hasn't unlocked it yet. I think he will at some point, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, a guy that you just expect to be steady Eddie, but maybe we're starting getting to the decline of Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt is not playing well. Are you worried about him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen him kind of start to decline a little bit in some ways. Like, you know, until last year, he had been a 300 hitter pretty much every year. And then last year is like a 270 hitter, which is, you know, 270 is not bad. And it's too early to say for certain, for sure. But, you know, the K rate's up, the contact rate's down. He's not hitting the ball hard at all. He's not barreling the ball. He did go to Driveline in the offseason to work on his swing. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't. You never know how much they go. Like, you hear that they went, doesn't mean that they were like spending their entire offseason there though either. So who knows? How much he got out of that or whatever. But yeah, it definitely could be a case where Father Time is starting to take over. Generally I try to avoid taking hitters over the age of 35. That tends to be a point where they start falling off with their contact skills. Now, sometimes the power can stick around until they're late 30s, early 40s, but yeah, the 35 is generally the time where you start to see a real decline when it comes to contact skills and average.
Yeah, this is one where I don't think I'm doing anything, but at least not yet. But I am pretty worried. I do think that there is a skill issue decline here. We're seeing the worst zone contact of his career. It just doesn't seem like he's got, even when he does make contact, doesn't seem there's much, oomph behind the bat. I do worry that this is kind of the end for Paul Goldschmidt, and I'm a little disappointed in myself for drafting him in a couple spots. But at least he's still walking, and he's going to play regularly, unless we get to a point where we're 2 months in the season and he is completely washed and it's obvious. But at this point, I think you got to kind of stick with him and just hope that he turns it around.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
Spencer Torkelson was a guy that was really interesting. Like, I really like Spencer Torkelson, and I was surprised to see his price really start to dip in March. While obviously other guys rising, some guys got to drop. I felt like Torkelson did drop quite a bit, but maybe it was for a reason, because he has not performed well so far. Part of it, I think, with price drop was he was not performing well in spring either. Where are you at in Spencer Torkelson?
He was not someone that I loved. It's because of his price tag. Like, I just thought he was going too high. And maybe he dropped a little towards the end, but yes, you're hoping he gives you 30 plus homers, but he had 31 homers last year, but it took him 684 plate appearances and he only hit 233. Now, granted, his XBA was 253. You could argue, okay, maybe you can get a 250, 260 average with 30 to 35 homers, but it's a bad park. It's a bad lineup, but it's looking like he's trying to make more contact, because like his contact rate is up, his zone contact rate is up, his K rate is down, but he's just making shit contact. Like, he's not hitting the ball hard at all. His hard percentage is 16%. His hard hit rate, StatCast hard hit rate, is 28, which for a power hitter, you don't want to see anything really below 45 at the lowest, and 28 is horrendous. He's hitting the ball real high. I'm guessing he's hitting a lot of pop-ups.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, his launch angle is 24, and he's hitting a 56% fly ball rate and only 12% line drive rate. Like, 12% is what I think Stanton did last year, so that portends to a really poor average, which is why his XBA is even lower than his 222 average. So, I mean, again, too early to say for sure, but definitely some early warning signs. And I just didn't like the draft value on him this year.
Yeah. God, this is so weird. He's just getting under the ball right now. So, yeah, like he's and someone in the chat right now says his fly ball rate is way up, but no barrels. It's because he's getting underneath stuff, and he's not getting his full swing behind things. And it's really on fastballs. He's just being kind of eaten up by fastballs right now. I don't know if pitchers are attacking him more just at the top of the zone, and he's just getting under things, and maybe he needs to, like, he's making a ton of in-zone contact, like you said. Like, 93% is really, really good, especially for a power hitter. 93%.
But he's not a power hitter right now, is the thing. Like, he's not currently functioning as a power hitter.
But he's trying to lift things, and so you almost want to see him just be like, hey, maybe I'm going to let that high fastball go and wait for them to come down into the zone a little bit more, or wait for a mistake. I think this is something that can be fixed. I'm not worried about like a skills degradation or anything like that. He's way too young, got a lot of talent. So I think that he is a guy that I'm not super worried about.
Okay.
All right, let's move it right along and talk about Julio Rodriguez. I'm not worried about Julio Rodriguez at all. I'm just gonna say that. Like I don't even know why he's on the list.
I mean, just people who drafted him who have a 186 average and no homers might be, freaking out. So yeah, no, there's no reason to be concerned. There's nothing really under the hood. He's just having having a dry spell that if it happened in the middle of the year, you wouldn't even notice. So if you drafted him, don't worry. He had a real slow start last year in April too. So he'll be fine.
Nick Castellanos, any worries there?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a guy who a lot of people were out on. Maybe because of his contact rates, I'm assuming. And he had a higher K rate last year, but he still had 29 homers, and this is a guy who has like that, 30 homer power. Under the hood, it honestly doesn't look that bad. I mean, he's hitting the ball 45% hard hit rate. His contact rate is back in line with where it was in 2022 with 70%, and his zone contact rate is at 87%, which is the highest it's been in years. So, it just seems like he's probably just getting a little unlucky right now. I don't think that there's anything to super worry about here, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, another one of these guys who's just trying to lift the ball a little bit too much and getting under things. Like it's infield fly ball rate is too high. Fly ball rate is 50%. Like he just needs to level out his swing. I think Castellanos is going to be fine. Yeah. Especially as things start to heat up in Philadelphia, like in the summer. Like I'm not worried about Castellanos at all. Francisco Lindor has been absolutely atrocious. It's been really, really bad. Again, I'm not worried on Lindor at all. Are you?
No, not at all. I mean, his XBA is 268 and he's hitting 129. He's not even like his strikeout rate is under 10%. His contact rate is high. I was looking to see if his swing rate was low. No, his swing rate's right in line. His zone contact rate is 94%. He's just getting super unlucky. He's going to be just fine. And he's actually, I think he had 2 hits today. He's 2 for 5. So I think you're going to start seeing him put together some good games here coming soon.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Another guy I'm not worried about at all is Vlad Guerrero Jr. You worried?
No. I mean, again, like his XBA is 287 and he's hitting 194. He's still hitting the crap out of the ball. Everything else looks like it's pretty much in line. You might not be getting the breakout that you hoped for, but I think it's too early to say for sure. But he's going to be just fine.
All right, and then the last hitter we're going to do before we move on to a bunch of pitchers that we're concerned about, or maybe not concerned about, Nico Hoerner. Nico Hoerner was a very polarizing guy coming into the season, with some people, myself included, very, very high on Nico Hoerner, and other people who were not so high on Nico Hoerner thought he was way overdrafted. So far, he is struggling at the plate. The skills don't look nearly as good as they've had the last couple of years either. How concerned? I mean, obviously, you were concerned on Nico Hoerner coming in the year. Are you even more concerned?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's going to be like this bad or anything for the whole year, but he was always a guy who I thought was not as good as what he showed last year. And I think people were, expecting him to steal 40 plus bases again. I think is, kind of crazy. I just didn't see the value. Any guy coming off of a career year like that, who's not like a really, now you and I have different definitions of what a good hitter is. Like for me, he doesn't hit the ball hard enough for what I would consider to be a good hitter. I know you look at like zone contact and contact rate, and those are good, but like, I guess it depends what you think about Steven Kwan. Like yes, he's a good hitter in that he puts the ball in play, but he's not up there hitting the ball hard at all. Like
what you're talking about is you're looking for a good fantasy hitter, and I'm talking about a good actual baseball hitter.
Well, we are playing a game that's fantasy baseball. So,
So the reason I like Nico Hoerner coming into the season, the reason I'm not out on Nico Hoerner at this point, and Steven in the chat's like, can we talk about some players who that you like who are underperforming who may be available? I mean, we're talking about a bunch of guys that were are not available. Nico Horner may become available in some leagues because I think there are going to be people who drop him in shallow formats. I would probably go pick him up. Yes, the zone contact is down, and zone contact was a major reason. I mean, he's been an elite zone contact hitter over the course of the last 2 seasons. I don't think that has changed in the profile. I think he will be that. And the reason I like those kind of guys, the reason I like a guy like Steven Kwan, is because while, yes, the BABIPs tend to run high on those guys and they're quote-unquote getting lucky, they're putting themselves in a position to get lucky. When you make a lot of contact in the zone, when you put the ball in play a lot, you're putting the onus on the defense to get you out. And when you put the ball in play and you have speed, you have a lot of ability to run higher BABIPs, to get on base and steal bases. Like, do I think that Nico Horner is necessarily going to return the value where he was drafted? I don't know that he is. I definitely think that this is going to be a quote-unquote bust of a pick in some ways because he's no longer leading off like we thought he was going to, earlier on in draft season, which means he's going to have less plate appearances. He's going to have less opportunities to steal. Do I think he's not going to return some value? No. And I think if he gets dropped in leagues, I'm picking him up.
Yeah, no, obviously, like if he gets dropped in a 15, you're picking him up.
Yeah.
There's no question. I don't think anyone's dropping.
But even in a 12, like if he gets dropped in 12, I'll pick him up. Like,
if he's dropped in a 12 where you need, steals and average, I think that's fine. I just didn't like his draft value at all. I mean, that's
probably going to turn out to be right.
Maybe, yeah. I just don't like he doesn't fit the kind of guy that I want to draft at that cost. And even compared to Steven Kwan hits a lot more line drives than he does. And I just don't like with as soft as Nico hits the ball. I just don't like those guys. I think that there's a lot of, they are going to have times where they just don't put the ball in play hard enough to get on base enough. And he's going to have times like this. So I still think he's going to be okay though. Like, I don't think he's going to be horrendous and get, benched or anything like that.
No. I mean, he's too good of a defender for that to happen.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to some pitchers. Luis Castillo is a guy who was targeting a lot of leagues. He has started off really, really rough through his first few starts. Any worries on Luis Castillo?
I know it's cold weather Castillo. You hear that a lot. But when you draft someone as your ace and he starts the way he started, it's still hard not to have some concern. But some of that was alleviated in his last start. His velo is still down about a mile an hour from last year, and last year was down a mile an hour from the year before. Granted, with all the guys throwing as hard as they are, at 97.5 plus getting injured, I'm not necessarily opposed to a, 95.5 to 96.5 mile an hour Castillo. So, he's still getting, I think he's still going to be okay. But he looks a lot more hittable right now. He does have a 446 BABIP, which certainly, that won't hold, but he just looks, he's not getting the swinging strikes that he has in the past. And I don't think we can really judge him until it gets warmer weather out. So, you're still holding him, you're still playing him. That's you're just hoping that he comes around, and I think you will.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Luis Castillo at all. I really just am not. A guy I am worried about is Kevin Gausman. I'm really worried about Kevin Gausman. And I didn't end up with Kevin Gausman because when he had the shoulder issue, I just stayed away. And this is the reason why Kevin Gausman looks hurt. Or are you worried about Kevin Gausman right now?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't drafting Kevin Gausman, as you can probably imagine. The shoulder injury, and people weren't really giving much of a discount. Like, the thing is, people don't understand when there's a major arm injury to a pitcher, they talk about the risk is baked in because you can get them a half a round or a round later. That's not baking in the injury risk. Like, if they were going 5 to 6 rounds later, now we're talking something that I'd be considering. That was not happening. So I wanted nothing to do with him. Yeah, I definitely think the shoulder is an issue. I get, and I've heard people talk about that he fluctuates his velocity. He did it a lot last year. He didn't fluctuate it this much. Like, he's been under 90 miles an hour. Okay. This is a guy who throws 95, 96. That is too much fluctuation for me. I'm definitely concerned.
Yeah, I'm extremely concerned. I mean, I don't know that you can do anything, but in trading leagues, if someone's trying to buy along Kevin Gausman, I'd love that.
I will sell for 60 cents on the dollar.
Yep. I was going to say 75, but yeah, 60 cents fine, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you.
I'll take
but
Bryce Miller for him straight up.
yeah. Any issues with Hunter Green? To me, this just feels like this is who Hunter Green is.
Well, yeah, and skills wise, it is, and I just think he's vastly overrated because he throws the ball hard. But I just don't see him staying healthy too. Like he's that guy now that Miller's out. He's the guy who throws by far the hardest fastball in baseball as a starter, and those guys don't stay healthy. So I'm just telling you, if you have him, expect him to go down.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I'm expecting him to go down, but I am expecting him to give up a lot of home runs. I'm expecting him to have games where he can't command and control things.
That's definitely going to happen. Yeah,
yeah. You're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot of strikeouts, and you don't know when the good starts are going to be and the bad starts are going to be. That's why I don't draft Hunter Green. Like I understand that there is like amazing upside and like it's really tantalizing, but the inconsistencies for me is why I don't draft him.
That's fair.
So, George Kirby, who was considered one of the safest pitchers that you could draft at the beginning of the draft, has not been so safe. Any concerns with George Kirby?
Yeah, I mean, before today, I was somewhat concerned. I mean, not like, you're not panicking, you're not dropping or anything like that. In his Sierra before today, at least I think it was before today, was like right around 4, but his ERA is like double that. And, typical stuff applies, 380 BABIP, 46% left on base rate. Obviously, these are going to normalize. He's still not walking guys. My thing is, I was hoping, and maybe it's too early for this, but I was hoping that he was going to be using his splitter more because he only used it like 8% last year, and I think he's still only using it like 8% this year. So granted, it's only April. Maybe he'll bump it up as we go along, but he needs that out pitch. But today, he relied more on his fastball, which is elite, and he had a good start. I think he only gave up 2 runs in like 6 innings. His velo was back up, which is good to see. So overall, I think he's going to be fine. But I'm hoping for him to take that next step. He needs that out pitch, and I think the splitter can be that for him, but he needs to throw it more than what he's throwing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like why people were drafting him the way they were, but I feel like some people were looking at him. Steven just said Kirby went in the first round of his main event by an NFBC Hall of Famer.
Okay, so we need to say this real quick, and I don't mean any disrespect to this because you're a Hall of Famer. That's great. At some point in your fantasy baseball career, you were elite at this, but some of the Hall of Famers have not kept up, and that's just the facts. I don't know who it is, but I have some guesses. Some of them are still good, but a lot of the Hall of Famers are not currently the best players playing NFBC.
Yeah, for me, like I think there was some talk about like George Kirby's gonna like jump up into a different stratosphere of pitcher. Like
I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people. I thought if he used that splitter more, all he needs is an out pitch. That fastball is elite.
Yeah, I wasn't willing to bet on that or pay for it. I'm sorry, not necessarily bet on it, but I wasn't willing to pay for it. And I felt like people were in some leagues trying to pay for that.
But the floor was just so high. Like that's
and I get and that's why I understood why he was going where he was going.
Yeah,
was like the fact
elite
that he does not walk anybody.
Right.
Made him really, really valuable. And so like that's why I understood like him going in the back end of the second round, early third in a lot of leagues. But to me, like the people who were taking him in the front end of the second and passing on guys like Pablo Lopez, guys like Zach Wheeler, like to me, like you saw.
I don't know too many people who are passing on Zach Wheeler for Kirby. I don't know that really happened ever.
Steven's talking about he went in the first round of some drafts.
Well, okay,
not in the drafts you were in, but like he like
right. Okay, but Steven, did Wheeler go before him? Is my question.
Oh, I'm sure he didn't.
I don't know. I mean, Wheeler went in the first round in a bunch of drafts, dude.
He did go in the first round in my main, in one of my mains. Or
Yeah.
actually, I only have one main this year, so one main.
But like that's the thing. After Wheeler and even Burns had some question marks around him, like there just weren't. None of those guys were good values. Wheeler was the guy who I thought was the good value in like the early second. But a lot of those guys weren't good values. So like, yes, Kirby wasn't a good value, but neither were most of the starters going around there. That's just kind of how it is, though. You got to get your guy at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. No, Wheeler did not go in the first round.
Okay, fair enough. That was stupid.
Yeah, I'd take Wheeler all day long.
Yes.
All right. Tanner Bybee, another one of my guys, one of my dudes, is kind of been up and down and not and struggled against some teams that he shouldn't struggle against. And you're a Guardians fan. Talk me off the ledge with Tanner Bybee.
Well, no, actually, I'm curious to hear what you have to say first.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm not overly worried about Bybee yet. Well, no, I am. The walks are concerning. The walks have come out of nowhere. Not really like he's got better. He showed better control in this last year, and I don't know where all these walks and stuff are coming from. He's just really having trouble finding the zone and then commanding things inside of the zone. I almost wonder if he's hurt.
Well, so the things that I look for if guys are hurt are zone percentage and velocity. So his velocity is down 1.5 miles an hour on his fastball.
Yeah.
Zone percent though is only down like 2.5%, which could be a thing, might not be a thing.
Probably
the thing
not.
is, he has great control, but he doesn't have great command. He has
not showing great control right now. I mean, he's walking.
No, I know
12% of his batters.
Yeah, no, nothing's going right for him. He's giving up home runs, and I think one of his starts was against the A's too. So it's not like he's faced powerhouse. Yeah, he's faced the A's and the White Sox and the Twins who can't hit the ball either right now. So it's not like he's facing a bunch of good offenses. So yeah, no, I think you're right to be concerned. I mean, he's still getting some like swinging strikes on stuff, but man, he is not locating the ball at all right now. And I'm still buying. Like, I still think he'll put it together. Again, it's April. If you go back and look in past years, guys who had great years had shit Aprils, like 9 ERA, 1.6 whip, stuff like that. So I'm still a believer, but there are warning signs right now that I'm not liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not starting him right now. I'll tell you that.
The crazy part is the Minnesota start was the best start so far. It's the Oakland start and the Chicago White Sox start where you go, what the hell happened? So there is a level of concern. I'm not dropping him. If he gets dropped in a league of mine, I'm gonna go pick him up. But I definitely have some level of concern because it's not just if it was just like, hey, he's having trouble finding the zone, but when he does find the zone, he's finding spots, I'd be happy. Or if it was the opposite, right? Like he's like, hey, he's not finding the zone all the time, but when he does, he's hitting. I probably wouldn't be as concerned, but he's not commanding or controlling anything right now. So
no, yeah, I think that's fair.
So at least he's getting strikeouts. He's still striking out guys at a right. But it's just that one start. He had 9 strikeouts in 5 1/3. He had 2 strikeouts in 4 1/3, and 4 strikeouts in 4 1/3. I don't know. We'll see the next start. Maybe I'll start freaking out after the next start.
Well, let's hope he starts turning it around.
Speaking of Guardians not doing well, Tristan McKenzie. Is he hurt?
No, I mean,
usually is.
This is a guy who obviously I was way out on with the shoulder injury last year, and I think that's absolutely what's going on here. I think he's not healthy, and I mean his velocity's down 1.5 miles per hour. He's got a 3.5 K per 9 and an 8.3 walk per 9. I mean, like what? And the thing is, like last year when he came back and he had 4 starts after his shoulder injury, he had like a 7.3 walk per 9. Same thing. He was having issues locating the ball, and I think that he's just hurt, and I think he needs surgery. I think.
Yeah. I just don't trust the health at all. Like on Tristan McKenzie, and So I stayed away from. There wasn't a league where I was willing to draft. Just
And I'm not picking him up either. He got
No.
dropped in some of my 12s. I'm leaving him there.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. What about Jesus Luzardo? Luzardo has been the worst pitcher on the Marlins, and that's saying something so far this year. Well, at least the worst starter. We're going to get to the worst pitcher on the Marlins here in a minute when we start talking about some relievers. But, or I guess, AJ Pug's probably been the worst pitcher. Marlins, we don't even have him on the list.
It's a horse race, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. What are your concerns on Luzardo, or do you have concerns on Luzardo?
Yeah, he was a guy that I avoided this year. I don't know what it was. I just didn't feel good about him for where he was going. His BABIP isn't particularly high. It's 308. His left on base rate is low at 58%, but he's just not pitching well right now. He's walking a bunch of guys. He's not getting the strikeouts that he was getting before. I'm definitely concerned because I don't see anything that's standing out to me as like, okay, he's just getting unlucky. Like his fastball is not performing well at all. He's getting far less swing strikes on it. The slider is probably his best pitch right now. Maybe the changeup, but without the fastball, I don't know that he can survive right now. And he's really struggling both to locate it and to get people to swing and miss on it.
All right. So I've never been a Jesus Luzardo guy. I always felt like he was overdrafted, in a large part because of the prospect pedigree. But he's a guy that struggled with health in the past and then really struggled with command in the past. The control's never really been a massive issue, and I don't think the control is a massive issue right now. I know that like the overall line looks like he's walked a ton of guys, but it was really one start where he walked a bunch of guys, and that's like carrying a lot of the water.
That's accurate.
So you're gonna have there are gonna be games where you just don't have a feel for any of your pitches and you can't find the zone. It's gonna happen to everybody. So I'm not super worried about the walk rate being high. I think that's just an aberration. Of just like the early season and there just not being a large enough sample. What I am concerned about is that he's given up 5 home runs in 4 starts, and he has equally spread them across those 4 starts. Like he is showing that lack of command that has kind of plagued him off and on throughout his career. He's also just not striking guys out at the same rate that we're kind of used to with him. So, you could kind of get away with or kind of forgive the command issues because you were like, hey, I'm going to get like an 11 strikeout per 9, 12 strikeout per 9 pitcher. He still strike out an inning. It's fine. But you're playing in a bad team or playing for a bad team on the Marlins, which is not going to win you a lot of games. If you can't get the command under control and he's not striking guys out at a prodigious rate, like he's just not nearly as valuable as people thought he was going to be. So, I'm in a dynasty league where I'm kind of on the cusp of competing and I need a little bit of starting pitching. And I got offered today. I haven't declined it or accepted it yet. So I'll ask you what you think. You don't play dynasty, but
I don't.
Someone offered me Jesus Luzardo for Michael Bush. With his 5th home run in 5 games, 6 on the season tonight. I don't even know what I should do. Because I'm not. If I was a Luzardo guy, then I would have been all over it. But
I still think I think you got to do it. I mean, the upside with Luzardo is far high. I think this is a hot streak for Michael Bush.
Pitching. Yeah. Oh, of course it's hot. I mean, he's hitting like 480.
Right. Right. Obviously, he's not going to do that. But even still, I just don't see Michael Bush as being more than he's 27 right now. Like he's technically a prospect, but I think he's like 27 years old, isn't he?
26 or 27, something like that.
Yeah, a guy, he's 26. Okay. I just feel like if he always did well in the minors, but I don't know. Maybe it's just
Bush was a real prospect.
He was.
He's so bad defensively.
Yeah.
And the Cubs are just like, we'll play it first and just do the best you can. Because the bat plays. The bat plays And that's the hard part is like, I think that bat will continue to play. Like, I legitimately think like Michael Busch could be like a 30 homer, 280, 290 guy. So the problem, I mean, and this is like, obviously no one cares about my fantasy team, but I've got a lot of offense and I don't have a lot of pitching. So I'm probably going to end up accepting it later tonight, but I think I might regret it.
I would still do it. Even if you're not a Luzardo guy, I just think that, there's not a lot of young, like really potentially really good starters that you're going to be able to pick up. I think guys like Michael Busch come along a decent amount.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Pablo Lopez, I have zero concerns on Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the Sierra is 3.7. I think he might not replicate what he did before with his strikeouts. It's too early to say, but his four seam and his sweeper both look good. Changeup, curve, and sinker, not getting the swinging strikes that he needs to on him, but overall, I think he's probably fine.
Yeah, walk rate's fine, home run rate's fine. Honestly, I think there's been a little bit of I've watched every single one of his starts so far. I think he's gotten squeezed in a couple games, and I think he's gotten it's just some bad luck. I don't really have that much of an issue with Pablo Lopez, or any issue with Pablo Lopez right now. And maybe that is just witch casting because he was my first pitcher in my main event, but I don't think it is. I think honestly, like I said, I've watched every single one of his starts. Not worried about Pablo Lopez at all. What about Max Fried? Because this is a guy that I stayed away from completely because of the arm issues last year, and he does not look right on the mound. Are you worried about Max Fried at all?
He's a really interesting case so far, and granted, as always, small sample, but he's walking a bunch of guys, and he's not getting the strikeouts that he usually gets. So then I look at his zone rate. Well, so first of all, his velo's fine. He's throwing 94, which is right in line with where he threw last year. His zone rate is actually way up. Like it's up 6% from last year. So he's actually throwing more pitches in the zone, and maybe that's what's the problem. Like he's not getting guys to chase. He's giving them pitches to hit. So that tells me there's probably a command issue, which again could be related to an injury. But then, he had that start a couple days ago where he went 6 in the third and only gave up 1 run, but he only had 4 Ks. So like I feel like it still feels like something is wrong there. Obviously, his first 2 starts were horrendous and he got blown up. He's the guy who I don't own anywhere, and I would be, if I owned him, I would be desperately trying to trade him after that last start, saying, "Oh, he's great now, he's fine." I don't think he is.
Yeah, I worry about the health so much with him. When you've got the elbow issues that he had last year and the time he missed, I just always feel like those guys are a ticking time bomb. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes they have the issue and then it never pops back up again. But more often than not, something pops up and they end up getting Tommy John. And so I stay away from Max Fried. I would be fine selling him for 70 cents on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar, something like that, because I just don't trust the health right now.
Agreed.
All right. Aaron Nola was put on this list prior to tonight's start. He went out and shoved tonight. Are we still concerned about Aaron Nola, or was that just a blip?
I mean, I think that Aaron Nola, because of the fact that, because he gets drafted around the same time as a lot of guys who have fastballs with a lot more velocity than he does, because he's always been like a 93 mile an hour kind of guy. But then when his velo is down the first couple starts, he's down to like 90, 91, and that's where it's, a problem. But he fluctuates a lot from year to year, like in terms of his ERA, because he walks a fine line. Like he needs to have that pinpoint control because he doesn't have the same level of stuff as a lot of the starters who get drafted around him. But yeah, now that his fastball's back up, I think we're going to see the same Aaron Nola moving forward that we've seen in the past. I think he just had, really cold and rainy, shitty weather. And Curlin was going off about this in our chat, and he tweeted about it today. He's like, "Oh, see, I told you Nola's fine," and blah, blah, blah. I still think he's going to have his fair share of bad starts, though, because like I said, he has to walk a fine line to not get hit hard. And last year, part of the issue was that their pitch clock was noticeably faster than other teams' pitch clocks. So if that's no longer an issue, it could help him out. and maybe he's just regresses a bit positively just based on that as well. So yeah, I think at this point you're just hoping he's back to being Aaron Nola.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I was concerned because the velocity was so far down, but it looks like it's starting to come back up. He pitched really well. I mean, it was against the Rockies away from Colorado, so like you
Right.
don't want to like give too much credence to that. But for me, seeing the velocity start to come
Yeah,
back up
that's what it was.
is a very good sign. So I'm less concerned than I was just a few hours ago on Arizona.
Right. Right.
Uh, all right. Here's the guy that I was wanting to talk about. The one of the worst pitchers on the Marlins, which is again saying something. Tanner Scott has looked absolutely atrocious this year. If you have Tanner Scott, like, are you running to the wire to pick up Andrew Nardi or Anthony Bender, or like, what are you doing right now? Because I would be panicking if I drafted Tanner Scott anywhere. I didn't. But
Yeah, I have one or two Tanner Scott, unfortunately, that I drafted again early in the season. I believe, if memory serves, that Nardi got blown up today. Oh, maybe not blown up.
I think Bender's the next guy.
Honestly, okay, yeah, Nardi
or it's AJ Puck if they move.
Maybe that might be the answer right there, because Nardi has an 11.7 ERA, and I was reading from local Marlins people saying Bender's not himself yet either. So I don't see either of them as a viable replacement for Scott. But yeah, obviously with his atrocious walk rate, because we saw him walk the world in spring training, but then like his
and
last
then it got under control, and then
right, yeah, then you're like, okay, maybe he's fine now. But then this season, now the season starts, I mean, he's had 2 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks, 3 different games where he's had multiple walks that he's given up, and that's not good. And he's not even striking out that many guys. He has 10 walks to 7 strikeouts. So yeah, that's not sustainable. As a closer, that's not going to work. So yeah, I think the Puck thing is interesting. I could kind of see that. I don't know if they're going to do that, because I mean, now that Garrett has a setback, and I don't know if they're going to put Puck back into the bullpen until he comes back. But when he does, that would make some sense, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think Puck could be the answer long term. The question is, what do you do in the short term? I've picked up Bender in a few leagues, and I'm just kind of stashing to see if he ends up becoming the guy. But ultimately, the Marlins aren't going to win a lot of games. So, like, do I really care if I miss out on the Marlins closer?
I mean, if
I don't know that saves, I do.
You can't. Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers.
This is true. I'm not in that position except for where I've drafted freaking Josh Hader, apparently. So,
God damn.
Yeah, he's just been ridiculous.
For those who don't know, he gave up like 4 runs in a third of an inning today. So
yeah, this is not good at all.
He's sitting at 0 or 1 saves too, right? Like he's
got 1 save this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, this one of the reasons the Astros are not very good.
Right.
Is Josh Hader. So I hope he figures it out really, really fast. All right. You put Kenley Jansen on here. Is it because he's walking everybody?
I mean, that's one reason. Yeah. I mean, he's almost as bad as Tanner Scott, honestly. Like he's got a 12.7 walk per 9 right now, like 3 games that he has multiple walks in. I mean, his ERA is 1.59, but his Sierra is 6.18. Like that's some of the real story. 1.59 whip. Again, yes, six innings, but his fastball, or what is it? His cutter that he throws, was it his cutter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cutter.
Yeah, cutter's down 2 to 2.5 miles an hour. That's not nothing. I mean, he's already throwing low velocity as it is. Like now he's down to like 92, 93, I think. Like that as a closer, that's horrendous. I'm definitely picking up and stashing Chris Martin right now.
Chris Martin's hurt.
Oh, mother! Are you serious?
Justin Slayton. I don't even.
Wait, when did he get hurt?
Chris Martin's been hurt.
No.
Pretty
he
sure.
Came back. Yes.
I could have sworn I saw something.
Oh, okay. Recently, yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
So yesterday it said that he was not available to pitch because of a sore left shoulder. I mean, that's not even his pitching shoulder, so I'm not really overly concerned with that.
All right. Yeah. I might just stay away from the situation. Just pray that Jans, I guess, like you said, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to saves. But
I mean, you gotta, you have to look into every one of these situations. I mean, you can say Slayton's an option too, but I think Chris Martin is going to be their go-to guy.
Yeah. God, that bullpen is awful.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm just trying to find an answer, and I don't have one. I guess Chris Martin if he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Martin he's a
good pitcher when he's healthy.
Yeah,
but he missed a lot of spring because he was hurt, and now he's got a shoulder issue.
Well, a non-throwing shoulder issue, a little different.
Still can't pitch.
Well, he wasn't available one day. Let's see.
Well, all right, we'll see tomorrow. All right. You've got some concerns on Kyle Finnegan.
Your old boy.
Is it just because he's Kyle Finnegan?
Is it just because he's Kyle Finnegan? Yeah, I mean, he's horrendous. So, I mean, it's just, that. He's walking guys, not striking guys out. I mean, he's being Kyle Finnegan, basically.
Yeah,
so.
He's just being Kyle Finnegan, which is
right.
what they've always wanted him to be.
Right.
So,
he is who we thought he was.
Yeah, like that. I don't know what changes here. Like, I mean, are we gonna keep kicking the football, Charlie Brown kicking the football on Hunter Harvey? Like, is that what we're doing here?
No, you think Finnegan's gonna close all year?
I mean, I think he'll close until they trade him, which could happen this year.
Okay,
but like let's say Hunter Harvey passes him for how long? I mean, Hunter Harvey can't stay healthy.
Well, right. I think Hunter Harvey, when he takes over the job, he keeps it until he gets hurt, which could be next week. Yeah,
exactly. Like it just, I mean, to me, like
you still have to play. You have to play this fucking shell game, though, Justin. I mean, this is fantasy baseball.
This is why I pay for saves, people. Like, I mean, like I know, like there's a whole moniker like don't pay for saves, but this is what I do. Every once in a while you do get the Josh Hader situation where you're paid for save guy falls apart, but like more often than not, you're getting your Edwin Diaz's or your Emmanuel Clase's that like they're fine. Like they just do exactly what you want. You don't have to go to the wire looking at the potential backup for Kyle Finnegan.
This is peak fantasy baseball, dude.
Yeah. So, all right. What about Pete Fairbanks?
Yeah, I mean, and so he obviously he's very, very high injury risk guy as it is, and I think he has Raynaud's or something where like he loses feeling at times. Although he says it never happens when he's in Tampa, only when he's in like cold weather places. And I wonder if something like that happened because he had a breakdown in Coors and he was complaining about the balls. And he had a really bad outing. He had 3 walks. And he's had some control issues this year in general. And then he seems like he was unavailable recently as well. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. He doesn't look great, but the skills in general with him are pretty good. It's just a health thing with him. Like it's just he can't really stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, if you take away that Colorado start, like, the walk rate is like astronomically high right now, but like, take away that Colorado start, like it's really just influenced by those 3 walks in 0 innings,
right?
In Colorado. So like, I'm not overly worried about Pete Fairbanks. Like I think he's gonna continue to be the guy as long as he's healthy. The problem is how long will he stay healthy for? He stayed healthy last year. Maybe he can do it again. But again, this is why I didn't draft Pete Fairbanks.
Well, he missed some time, but yeah, in general, he was fine.
I mean, he didn't miss like the entire season.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's finish out with David Bednar, who was dealing with, health issues in spring. By the time spring ended, it seemed like he was going to be ready to start the season. It's been a little rocky, though, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. One of those things that I don't, too small of a sample to know exactly what to make of him yet. Like he's got a 10 ERA, but his Sierra is 2.3. He really just had 1 blow up.
Yeah.
The Ks and the walks look good. I do still have concern with him though. I mean, the shoulder injury coming in Could he be okay? Yeah. He is also a big boy, and they tend to struggle with the pitch clock. And Aroldis Chapman is there. They have a viable backup there, and I don't know. It's possible that they just trade Chapman away to a contender and he closes for someone else, maybe Texas. And Bednar is fine this year, but I wasn't drafting him because of the shoulder, so I don't have any shares. But it's too early to say, I think, one way or another. But there's some warning signs, but also he seems like he's probably more or less okay until he breaks down. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not super worried about Bednar.
Okay.
I mean, I think the one really bad outing really influences a lot here. Came back, a few days later, closed out the game. I don't think there's going to be any issues with Bednar. I mean, unless we're starting to hear like there's a shoulder issue or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I would worry. But at this point, I think Bednar's the guy, and Chapman's there as an insurance policy or just striking the bullpen in case they are in a playoff race. So, no issues with Bednar for me, at least.
Okay. That's fair.
All right.
Yep.
Earth Leagues. What's going on there?
Well, new year, but same results. Still Glarf in full control, obviously. So, we got
a month into the season.
What was that?
A month into the season. Not even a month into the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be a month in, it can be 4 months in. It's always the same story, man. And we got 4 people in the top 12. Shout out Maddie, Sarah, Aaron, and Lucas. You guys are killing it. And then we got Surf and Turf are coming on strong. They're in second and third. Fittingly, Ray Kuhn of Turf overtook Rudy
my
Gambler.
Other Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast partner, who we were going to be recording on Thursdays now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so yeah. He is in first place overall right now in Turf. He moved up 7 spots today, so he had a big day. And Surf was lagging in the first couple weeks, and then they came on strong this week. Wharf was in third, and then they fell back a little bit, I think, to like 5th, but nice to see them doing well. Scarf, SoCal, they rebounded. I think they were like 10th after the first 2 weeks, and then they rebounded, came up to like, I think they're in like 4th now. I actually have a spreadsheet here I can just look at. Scarf is in 4th, and we got Barf kind of hovering in the lower mid. I think Barf is 7th right now.
We were 3rd last week.
Okay. There's like there's a big clump of you guys from like 2 through, I mean, honestly, like 2 through 7. They're all kind of pretty close, like within like 170 points of each other. So, there could be a lot of movement within that from week to week. But yeah, Tarf and Darf, the Texas League and the DC League, I think they finished 2nd and 3rd last year. I think Darf was 2nd. I think Tarf was 3rd, if I remember correctly. And they're 2nd last and 3rd last right now. So, Darf is significantly behind right now, but they're still well ahead of Worf, who's bringing up the rear once again. They are well behind everybody. I never know with Worf. I mean, let me put it this way. I don't think it's a coincidence that they don't have any monetary prizes and they're in last place. But I hope that they can turn it around and make a comeback, because I heard a lot of talk from a couple leagues, including Barf, by the way. Barf, Tarf, Surf, and Worf were all telling me that they're coming for Glarf this year, saying that they're going to overtake us, and they brought in some big guns in the offseason. And how are you feeling? I mean, I know it's only a couple weeks in, but you still feeling confident about that?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident.
Okay.
So, like it's still early. I'm not super worried about things. My team, had a good day today. Personally, my team had a little bit of a slow start. Number of minor injuries, but I got to drop it order you guys. But picked up Jeff Hoffman. He pitched today. Didn't get the save, but both Sonny Gray and Zach Eflin pitched really well today. So my team's coming back up. So I think Barf's going to come back up too. So
okay,
I'm feeling pretty good about our chances here.
Okay, so you're
plus we have you like really weighing down Clark. So I think that's going to
buddy.
with your starting rotation of Strider and Bradish and whoever else has blown out their arm on your team.
By the way, why don't you? Do you have the overall standings page up?
I don't, but I can bring it up.
Okay, well, you don't have to. I can just tell you. I have 570 pitching points.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it has not.
Considering you don't even have like 5 healthy pitchers.
So here's my rotation. I made some good pickups too. I picked up Buto this week too. But I've got Littell, Kikuchi, Reagans, Evan Phillips, Brian Bayo, Michael Waka, Ryan Pepio, Cutter Crawford, Kevin Ginkel, Kyle Bradish, Ryan Weathers, Jose Buto, and Jose Soriano. So I'm missing that top end ace kind of guy, but I mean, Reagans can be that. I don't know if he'll stay healthy for the whole year, but I mean, I have a pretty good rotation. And I did recently pick up Colton Cowser. I picked him up last week for $39. Nice. Backup bid was like $8, and Jake was criticizing me, and I said, "Just wait. You're gonna wish you picked him up a week from now." And it took like 2 days for that to come to fruition, as he had a monster week this week, and then went for $300 in most leagues this week. So
$269.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I think with my Vinny P finally started coming around. So but Randy Arozarena is having a rough start to the year. Bo Bichette's had a slow start. Matt Olson hasn't done a ton yet either. So O'Neill Cruz, as we mentioned earlier, not a real quick start. So I think a lot of my offense is going to come around. The funny thing is, when I initially did the show notes, I was like 15 places ahead of you. Now you're 15 places ahead of me. That's how quickly the swings go.
It changes so fast right now.
Right.
Like don't get me wrong, I take a look at the standings just to kind of like see like how like things are going and stuff like that. But like for the most, like I don't care that much about this unless there is some sort of category where I am just like completely lagging in. Like there is, I do have like one team where like I only have like 6 stolen bases, and I'm like, okay, well that's not good. Like, but like other than like stuff like that, like I'm just not worried about it because like you have Bailey Ober in his first start, your ratios are torched for a little bit, like
exactly.
So you had Josh Hader today, your ratios are torched. Like I'm just not worried about stuff like that right now. Don't overreact to things.
Yep. For me, it's counting stats, runs, and RBI. And then also my worst category is average. I will say, because that was what I self-assessed coming out of the draft, I said that average might be an issue for me. So that's something that I am a little concerned about. But I just don't think that this team, unfortunately, is going to be good in average. But I just, if I can get them to be mediocre and I can be good everywhere else, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, my offense is not great. So I may have some issues there a little bit. But I mean, part of it, Corbin Carroll hasn't really gotten going. Dalton Varsho, like we talked about, he hasn't gotten going. But I've got great pitching, so I'm going to need to continue to work on the offense, I think, throughout the year.
Do you think Corbin Carroll gets it going?
Yes, I do. I mean, as long as he's healthy. If the shoulder pops out, then I may be screwed. But like I think I had like the 12th pick or something in the draft, and he fell to me. So like, what am I going to do at that point? I just took him. So
yeah, I don't know if it's a coincidence that, I mean, it could be, because again, we've talked about a number of guys today. It's a small sample, but 20% hard hit rate. Maybe the shoulder is a problem. I don't know.
I mean, we won't know until we know.
Right.
But I'm not like
not panicking yet.
I'm not panicking yet. Though he did collide with a teammate today. So that's not good news.
He did what?
Collide with a teammate today.
Yeah, I saw that. It didn't seem
or
like
yesterday.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it, because he played today, right? So it didn't seem like it was anything super serious, but yeah.
Yeah, he did play today.
Not great.
1 for 5. So
okay.
Yeah. Something just kind of keep, not like you can do anything with Carroll. So like, I mean,
No,
He's on your team. I drafted him. He's got 5 stolen bases at least. So that's not the team. That's not the team where I only have 6.
No, that was never the issue. So I think he's going to run a crap ton, but I will definitely take the under on the power stats for sure.
Right. Yeah, no, the team I've got, they only had 6 stolen bases, one of my $1,500 auctions. And looking at my team, I'm like, oh, maybe I just didn't draft enough stolen bases. That's not good. So gonna need to draft that.
Could very well be.
So, but it's doing well everywhere else. So that is gonna wrap us up for this episode. Want to remind everybody you can reach the social media and plug anything you probably don't have going on.
You can reach me at RunDMCD on Twitter, and that's what I've got going on because I've asked Jake and he just doesn't say anything when I say, hey, are we gonna do this or no? All right.
Do you want me to shame him with that?
Yeah, please shame him. He needs more shame in his life. There's a lot of things for him to be shamed.
At the Dusk Mite, you can shame.
Yeah, you know what? At TheDustMite at the Dust Mite. DM him and tell him to get his shit together and record High Stakes Heat because
there you go.
He doesn't listen to me, but he will listen to random strangers sometimes. So we'll see.
Maybe we should just bring him on as a guest, and that'll get like the juices flowing.
Get the juice, yeah. Well, I mean, he was on a pod or two. He's on a few pods, I think, this off season. But we did do 2 episodes of High Stakes Heat before he went back into seclusion. So, but yeah, no, that's a fine idea. We can try to bring him on next week.
Yeah, let's make that happen.
So, all right.
You can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. You can reach Fantasy Benefits, Friends of Fantasy Benefits on Twitter at Fantasy Benefits. You can catch me writing 5 times a week at Fangraphs and 3 times a week at Fantasy Pros. And I'm on the Sleeper on the Bus podcast as well. So, catch me in all those places. For Dave and myself, thank you for listening. Have a fantastic baseball season.